The morning rain drummed against the glass walls of Cross Industries as Sofia Martinez hurried through the marble lobby, her heels clicking against the polished floor. At 24, she possessed an energy that seemed to light up every room she entered. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional bun, though a few rebellious curls had escaped to frame her heart-shaped face. She clutched her leather portfolio close to her chest. Knowing that today could change everything, Sofia had been working as a junior marketing assistant for 6 months, always arriving early and staying late. Her colleagues often wondered why. Someone with her MBA from Columbia was content with such a basic position, but Sofia had her reasons. She needed this job, and more importantly, she had a plan. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime on the 42nd floor, revealing the executive wing of Cross Industries. The atmosphere here was different from the bustling energy of the lower floors. Here, everything moved with quiet precision. It's like a well-oiled machine designed to generate billions. Sofia approached the reception desk where Patricia, the senior secretary, looked up with surprise. "Sofia, what brings you up here so early?" "Your department is on the 15th floor. I have the quarterly marketing analysis that Mr. Cross requested." Sofia replied, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. "Mrs. Chen asked me to deliver it personally." Patricia frowned slightly. "Mr. Cross doesn't usually meet with junior staff directly. I could take it for you." "Please," Sofia said, her amber eyes pleading. "Mrs. Chen specifically said he wanted to discuss the social media campaign metrics with whoever compiled them." That was me. After a moment's hesitation, Patricia picked up her phone. "Mr. Cross, I have Sofia Martinez from marketing here with the quarterly analysis you requested. She says Mrs. Chen mentioned you wanted to discuss it directly with the compiler." There was a pause. "Yes, sir. I'll send her in." Sofia took a deep breath as Patricia gestured toward the imposing double doors. "He'll see you now. Remember, Mr. Cross values brevity and precision." The office beyond those doors was breathtaking. Floated ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Manhattan, while minimalist furniture and shades of black and gray created an atmosphere of sophisticated power. But it was the man behind the massive desk who truly commanded attention. Ethan Cross was 28 years old, though his steel-blue eyes held the weight of someone who had seen far more of the world's harsh realities. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and his charcoal suit fit his tall frame like it had been crafted specifically for him, which it probably had. He was handsome in a way that made people stop and stare, but there was something untouchable about him, like ice that never melted. "Miss Martinez," he said without looking up from his computer screen. His voice was smooth, but carried an edge that made most people nervous. "You have 2 minutes." Sofia stepped forward, refusing to be intimidated. "Mr. Cross, the quarterly analysis shows some fascinating trends in consumer engagement that I believe could revolutionize our approach." This time he did look up, and Sofia felt her breath catch. His eyes were incredibly blue, like sapphires, but they held no warmth. "Fascinating is a subjective term, Miss Martinez. Show me numbers." She opened her portfolio with steady hands, though her heart was pounding. "Our traditional advertising campaigns have a 3.2% engagement rate, but the social media content I developed independently has achieved 12.8% engagement with our target demographic." Ethan's eyebrows rose slightly, the first sign of interest he had shown. "Independently?" "Yes, sir. I noticed gaps in our current strategy, so I created test campaigns on my own time using my personal accounts to avoid any company policy violations." He leaned back in his chair, studying her with new attention. "You risked your career to prove a point about marketing strategy." "I risked my career to help this company succeed," Sofia corrected, meeting his gaze directly, "and to prove that sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected places." For the first time since she had entered the office, Ethan was silent. He stood and walked around his desk, moving with the fluid grace of someone completely comfortable with their own power. As he approached, Sofia caught a hint of his cologne, something expensive and subtle that made her pulse quicken. "Show me these campaigns," he said, his voice closer now, more intimate despite its professional tone. Sofia pulled out her tablet, her fingers brushing his as she handed it to him. The contact sent an unexpected jolt of electricity through her system. If Ethan felt it too, he gave no sign. But she noticed his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. He scrolled through her work in silence, his expression unreadable. The campaigns were innovative, creative, and most importantly, effective. Sofia had managed to capture the essence of cross-industries while making it accessible to a younger demographic without compromising the company's sophisticated image. "These are good," he admitted finally. "Better than good. They're exactly what we need to expand our market reach." Sofia felt a surge of triumph, but she kept her expression professional. "Thank you, Mr. Cross. I have several more concepts that could complement these. I'm sure you do." He handed the tablet back to her, their fingers touching again. This time Sofia was certain she saw something flicker in his eyes before he stepped back. "I want you to present these to the board next week." The board. Sofia's composure finally cracked slightly. "Mr. Cross, I'm just a junior assistant. You're the person who created campaigns that could increase our revenue by 15%, he replied. "Titles are just words, Miss Martinez. Results matter." He returned to his desk, but instead of sitting, he leaned against it, crossing his arms. The pose was casual, but on Ethan Cross, everything looked calculated. However, there will be conditions. "What kind of conditions?" "You'll work directly with me on this project. Daily meetings, late nights, complete discretion about our strategies. Can you handle that?" Sofia felt heat rise in her cheeks. The idea of working closely with Ethan Cross was both thrilling and terrifying. "Of course, sir. I'm committed to excellence." "Excellence," he repeated, as if testing the word. "I hope you understand what that means in my world, Miss Martinez. I don't accept anything less than perfection." "Then we understand each other perfectly, Mr. Cross." Something shifted in the air between them, subtle but unmistakable. Ethan pushed himself away from the desk and walked to the windows, his hands clasped behind his back. "Tell me, Miss Martinez, what do you see when you look at this city?" Sofia joined him at the window, careful to maintain a professional distance. "I see opportunity. Millions of people with dreams and ambitions, all looking for something that speaks to them. And what do you think they're looking for?" "Connection," she said without hesitation. "Everyone wants to feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves." Ethan turned to look at her, and for a moment, his carefully constructed mask slipped. She saw a loneliness there, buried deep beneath layers of success and power. "Connection," he murmured. "An interesting perspective from someone who works alone." "I work alone because I haven't found the right team yet," Sofia replied. "But I'm hopeful." Their eyes met and held, the space between them charged with possibility. Sofia felt drawn to him in a way that defied logic. Here was a man who commanded respect through fear, who had built an empire through ruthless determination, yet something about him called to her. "Oh, Miss Martinez," Ethan said, his voice softer than before. "I think this partnership will be very interesting indeed." As Sofia left his office that morning, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken a dramatic turn. She had come seeking an opportunity to advance her career, but she was leaving with something far more complicated. The ice-cold CEO had shown her a glimpse of the man beneath the corporate armor, and that glimpse had ignited something dangerous within her. Little did she know that Ethan stood at his window long after she left, watching her small figure disappear into the crowd below, wondering why one ambitious young woman had managed to crack the walls he had spent years building around his heart. The game between them had begun, though neither fully understood the rules yet. The following Monday arrived with unusual anticipation buzzing through Cross Industries. Sofia had spent the weekend perfecting her presentation, but, more importantly, trying to understand the complex feelings that Ethan Cross had awakened in her. She arrived at the office an hour early, her navy blue dress, professional yet flattering, her confidence carefully assembled like armor. The executive conference room on the 43rd floor was intimidating in its grandeur. A massive mahogany table dominated the space, surrounded by leather chairs that had witnessed countless million-dollar decisions. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of Central Park, while abstract art pieces worth more than most people's homes adorned the walls. Sofia was setting up her presentation when the door opened. She expected to see Ethan, But instead, a man she didn't recognize entered. He was tall and conventionally handsome, with perfectly styled blonde hair and the kind of smile that seemed practiced. His expensive suit and confident demeanor marked him as someone accustomed to power. "You must be the mysterious marketing genius everyone's talking about," he said, approaching with his hand extended. "James Porter, Porter Holdings. We're Cross Industries' biggest competitor, but Ethan and I go way back." Sofia shook his hand, noting his grip lingered a moment too long. "Sofia Martinez. I wasn't expecting anyone else to be here." "Ethan invited me to observe," James said, his green eyes appraising her with obvious interest. "He said he had something revolutionary to show the board. I have to admit, I'm curious to see what kind of woman has captured his attention." Before Sofia could respond, the door opened again, and Ethan entered with 3 board members. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere in the room. Where James commanded attention through charm, Ethan simply owned the space through sheer force of will. "Gentlemen," Ethan said, his voice carrying easily through the room, "and James, thank you for accepting my invitation." His eyes found Sofia's briefly, and she caught a flicker of something that might have been reassurance. "Miss Martinez will be presenting a new marketing strategy that could reshape our brand identity." As the board members took their seats, Sofia noticed how they all deferred to Ethan without question. Even James, despite his confident facade, seemed to measure his words more carefully in Ethan's presence. "Miss Martinez," Ethan said, taking his seat at the head of the table. "The floor is yours." Sofia stood, her tablet connected to the room's display system. The first slide showed engagement statistics that made several board members lean forward with interest. "Gentlemen, our current marketing approach is effective but limited. We're speaking to people who already know who we are, but we're failing. To reach the demographics that will drive our growth over the next decade," she moved through her presentation with growing confidence, explaining how authentic storytelling and strategic social media engagement could expand cross-industries influence without diluting their premium brand image. The campaigns she had developed told stories of innovation and aspiration, while maintaining the sophisticated edge that had made cross-industries synonymous with success. "These metrics are impressive," said Robert Chen, the chief financial officer. "But can we maintain this engagement rate across larger campaigns?" "That's exactly what I've been testing," Sofia replied, pulling up her next slide. "I've been running scaled versions of these campaigns using controlled groups, and the engagement actually increases with broader exposure." James Porter leaned back in his chair, his expression skeptical. "It all sounds very optimistic, Miss Martinez, but marketing trends change overnight. What happens when your approach becomes outdated?" Sofia met his challenge head-on. "That's why we focus on authentic connection rather than trends, Mr. Porter. Trends fade, but genuine human connection endures. Our strategy adapts to changing platforms while maintaining consistent core messaging." "Authentic connection," Ethan repeated, his blue eyes fixed on her. "Explain what that means in practical terms." Sofia felt her pulse quicken under his intense gaze. "It means showing people the real impact of what Cross Industries creates. Not just the products, but the dreams we help people achieve. The small business owner who expands because of our software, the artist who reaches new audiences through our platforms, the student who gets into their dream college using our educational tools." The room was quiet as her words sank in. Sofia could see she had struck something deeper than mere marketing strategy. She was talking about purpose, about meaning beyond profit margins. "How do you propose we implement this across all divisions?" asked Margaret Fitzgerald, the head of operations. "We start with pilot programs in 3 key markets," Sofia explained, her confidence building with each question. "We measure not just engagement and conversion rates, but emotional connection metrics. We track how our campaigns make people feel about their own potential." James Porter spoke again, his tone slightly mocking. "Emotional connection metrics. That sounds like feel-good nonsense rather than business strategy." Sofia felt a flash of irritation but kept her voice level. "With respect, Mr. Porter, emotional connection directly correlates with brand loyalty and customer lifetime value. Companies that create emotional bonds with their customers. See 23% higher revenue growth than those focused solely on functional benefits. Where did you study? James asked, his question feeling more like an interrogation than professional interest. Columbia Business School, Sofia replied. More importantly, I've spent 2 years studying cross-industries customer base and identifying gaps in our current approach. Ethan had been silent during this exchange, but now he leaned forward slightly. James, perhaps you'd like to share why you're really here today. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. James's smile became more forced. Just professional curiosity, old friend. Porter Holdings is always interested in innovative approaches. I'm sure you are, Ethan replied, his tone carrying a subtle warning. Miss Martinez, please continue. As Sofia moved through the final portions of her presentation, she became increasingly aware of the undercurrents in the room. There was history between Ethan and James that went beyond simple business competition. She also noticed how Ethan's attention never wavered from her presentation, while James seemed more interested in studying her than her work. When she finished, the board members asked several more technical questions, all of which Sofia answered with expertise that clearly impressed them. Finally, Ethan stood, signaling the end of the formal presentation. Thank you, Miss Martinez. Gentlemen, I'd like your preliminary thoughts by tomorrow morning. James, perhaps we could speak privately. As the board members filed out, Sofia began packing up her materials. She was surprised when James approached her again. Impressive presentation, he said, his voice lower now that most people had left. I'd love to discuss your ideas further over dinner sometime. Sofia looked up to see Ethan still in the room, his expression unreadable, but his posture tense. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Porter, but I prefer to keep business and personal matters separate. Smart policy, James said, glancing meaningfully at Ethan. Though some people seem to struggle with those boundaries, the comment hung in the air like a challenge. Sofia felt the tension between the two men escalate, though. She didn't fully understand its source. James, Ethan said quietly, but his voice carried unmistakable authority. I believe you have other appointments to attend to. James's smile never faltered, but Sofia caught a flash of something darker in his eyes. Of course, Miss Martinez. The offer stands if you ever change your mind about mixing business with pleasure. After James left, Sofia found herself alone with Ethan in the vast conference room. The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken questions and rising tension. You handled that well, Ethan said finally, moving to stand by the windows. I'd be concerned about Mr. Porter's interest, Sofia asked, joining him but maintaining a careful distance. Ethan was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight. James and I have complicated history. He has a tendency to want what he perceives as mine. The possessive undertone in his voice made Sofia's breath catch. I'm not anyone's to be claimed, Mr. Cross turned to look at her then, his blue eyes. Intense. No, you're not. But that doesn't mean people won't try. Sofia felt drawn to him despite every professional instinct telling her to maintain distance. There was something magnetic about Ethan Cross when his carefully constructed walls showed even the smallest cracks. The presentation went well, she said, trying to steer the conversation back to safer ground. Better than well. The board was impressed. He paused, then added, I was impressed. The admission seemed to surprise him as much as it did her. Sofia felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. Thank you. It means a lot coming from you. Does it? Ethan moved closer, close enough that she could see the flecks of silver in his blue eyes. Why? The question was simple, but Sofia sensed layers of meaning beneath it. Because you don't give praise easily. Because you've built something remarkable here, and being part of that matters to me. Is that all that matters to you? His voice had dropped to almost a whisper. Sofia's heart raced as she realized they were entering dangerous territory. Every rational thought told her to step back, to maintain professional boundaries. But something stronger kept her rooted in place. Mr. Cross, I think we should discuss the implementation timeline for the new campaigns. Ethan, he corrected softly. When we're alone, call me Ethan. Ethan, she repeated, the name feeling intimate on her lips. We should be careful about boundaries, should we? He reached up, his fingers barely grazing her cheek. I've spent My entire adult life being careful, Sofia, building walls, maintaining control, never letting anyone get close enough to matter. Sofia's breath caught at the vulnerability in his voice. What changed? You walked into my office, he said simply. You challenged everything I thought I knew about keeping people at a distance. Before Sofia could respond, the door opened and Patricia appeared. Mr. Cross, your 2 o'clock appointment has arrived. The spell broken, Ethan stepped back immediately, his professional mask sliding back into place. Thank you, Patricia. Miss Martinez, please prepare a detailed implementation plan for the new campaigns. I'd like to review it tomorrow. Of course, Sofia managed, her voice steadier than she felt. As she left the conference room, Sofia's mind raced with the implications of what had just happened. Ethan Cross, the man who controlled billions with ice-cold precision, had shown her something real and vulnerable. The careful distance she had been trying to maintain was crumbling. She wasn't sure she wanted to stop it. That evening, as Sofia worked late in her small apartment, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Your presentation today was exceptional. The real question is what you plan to do with the power you've just gained. It was signed simply, E. Sofia stared at the message, her heart pounding. The game between them was becoming more complex, more personal, and infinitely more dangerous. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, she allowed herself to imagine what it would be like if. Ethan Cross let his walls down completely. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. 3 weeks had passed since Sofia's successful board presentation, and the new marketing campaigns were already showing remarkable results. But the professional success was overshadowed by the growing tension between her and Ethan. Their daily meetings had become exercises in restraint, filled with lingering glances and carefully maintained distances that fooled no one. Sofia sat in her newly assigned office on the executive floor, reviewing campaign metrics, when Nina Stevens knocked on her door. Nina had been Sofia's closest friend since their first day at Cross Industries. A vibrant redhead with an infectious laugh and an uncanny ability to read people. Look at you, Miss Executive, Nina said, settling into the chair across from Sofia's. Desk, your own office, direct access to the CEO, and half the company wondering how you managed it all so quickly. Sofia looked up from her laptop, noting the concern in her friend's green eyes. Hard work and good ideas, just like always. Sofia, we need to talk. Nina's expression grew serious. People are starting to whisper about you and Mr. Cross. The way he looks at you in meetings, how he always finds reasons to work late when you're here. Sofia felt her cheeks warm. We're working on important projects together. Of course, we spend time discussing strategy. Strategy doesn't explain why. He sent you roses yesterday with a note about your innovative thinking, Nina said pointedly. Or why James Porter has been asking questions about your personal life? Before Sofia could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Conference room in 10 minutes? Bring the Peterson account files. Nina noticed her expression change. Let me guess. Another urgent meeting with your very professional boss. Sofia gathered her files, trying to ignore the flutter of anticipation in her stomach. Nina, I appreciate your concern, but I can handle this. Can you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're falling for a man who could destroy your career with one wrong word. The comment stung because Nina wasn't wrong. Sofia had been trying to deny her growing feelings for Ethan, but every interaction made it harder to maintain that pretense. When Sofia arrived at the conference room, she found Ethan standing by the windows, his silhouette sharp against the afternoon sky. He had loosened his tie. His dark hair showed signs of being run through with fingers. A gesture she had learned indicated he was either frustrated or deep in thought. The Peterson account is requesting modifications to their campaign, he said without turning around. They want something more conservative, more traditional. Sofia set her files on the table. That would completely undermine the effectiveness of what we've created for them. I know. Ethan finally turned to face her, and Sofia was struck by the weariness in his blue eyes. They're threatening to pull their contract if we don't comply. Do you want to do? Sofia asked, though she already knew the answer from his expression. I want to tell them exactly what they can do with their conservative approach, Ethan said, moving closer to the table. But Peterson Holdings represents $30 million in annual revenue. Sofia studied the files, her mind racing through alternatives. What if we present them with a choice? Show them projected results for both approaches. Let them see the difference in potential return on investment. And if they still choose the conservative route, then we respect their decision and prove our approach works with other clients. Sofia met his gaze steadily. Sometimes you have to be willing to lose a battle to win the war. Ethan's expression shifted, admiration replacing frustration. You're willing to risk $30 million on principle? I'm willing to risk $30 million on proven results and long-term success, Sofia corrected. Besides, there are other companies who would appreciate what we're offering, like James Porter's company. Ethan's voice carried an edge that made Sofia look up sharply. Has he contacted you? The possessive tone in Ethan's question made her pulse quicken. He sent flowers to my apartment yesterday, Sofia admitted, with an invitation to dinner and a job offer. Ethan's jaw tightened visibly. And your response? I haven't responded at all. Sofia moved around the table, drawn by the intensity in his eyes. Why does it matter to you? You know why. The words came out rough, like they had been torn from somewhere deep inside him. Sofia felt her heart racing as she realized they were finally approaching the conversation they had been avoiding for weeks. Ethan, we need to talk about what's happening between us. What's happening, Ethan said, his voice carefully controlled, is that I'm breaking every rule I've ever set for myself. What rules? Never get involved with employees. Never let personal feelings interfere with business decisions. Never let anyone get close enough to have power over me. He moved closer with each statement until they were only inches apart. You've made me break all of them. Sofia felt her breath catch. I never asked you to break any rules. No, you didn't. You just walked into my life and made me remember what it feels like to want something more than success and control. The conference room door burst open. Margaret Cross, Ethan's mother, swept into the room with the commanding presence that had made her a force in New York society for 3 decades. She was an elegant woman in her 50s, with silver hair styled perfectly and eyes the same piercing blue as her son's. Ethan, darling, I've been trying to reach you all afternoon, Margaret said, her gaze immediately moving to assess Sofia with obvious disapproval. I wasn't aware you were in a meeting, Mother Ethan said, his tone becoming noticeably cooler. This is Sofia Martinez, our new marketing director. Sofia extended her hand with a professional smile. Mrs. Cross, it's a pleasure to meet you. Margaret's handshake was brief and dismissive. Miss Martinez, I've heard quite a lot about you recently. The way she said it made clear that what she had heard was not particularly positive. Sofia felt the temperature in the room drop as mother and son engaged in some silent battle of wills. Mother, was there something specific you needed? Ethan asked. I wanted to remind you about the gala next weekend. The Rothschild girl will be there, you know. Such a lovely young woman, and her family's connections would be so beneficial for the company. Sofia felt something cold settle in her stomach as she realized Margaret was essentially interviewing potential wives for her son in front of her. I'm not interested in the Rothschild girl or her connections, Ethan said firmly. Darling, surely you understand the importance of making appropriate choices. Margaret replied, her eyes flicking meaningfully toward Sofia. Especially in your position. People talk and the wrong associations can be so damaging. The insult was delivered with society's smile precision, but it hit its mark. Sofia felt her cheeks burn with humiliation and anger. I should go, Sofia said quietly, gathering her files. Mr. Cross, we can continue this discussion later. Sofia, wait, Ethan said, but she was already moving toward the door. It was lovely meeting you, Mrs. Cross, Sofia said, her voice carefully polite, despite the hurt she felt. After Sofia left, the silence in the conference room was deafening. Margaret adjusted her purse with satisfaction, while Ethan stood rigidly by the windows. That was unnecessary, Mother. Was it? Ethan, that girl is clearly infatuated with you, and you're not exactly discouraging her attention. You have any idea how this looks? I don't care how it looks. Margaret's perfectly composed expression cracked slightly. You should care. Your father built this company on reputation and connections. You can't throw that away for some little assistant with inappropriate ambitions. Sofia is brilliant. Hardworking and more innovative than anyone else in this building, Ethan said, his voice dangerously quiet. And she's not some little assistant. She's not suitable for you, darling. Surely you can see that. Ethan turned to face his mother, and Margaret took an involuntary step back at the ice in his eyes. The only thing I can see clearly is that you've just insulted someone I care about. Care about? Margaret's voice rose slightly. Ethan, please tell me you're not serious about this girl. What I am or am not serious about is no longer your concern. Mother. That evening, Sofia sat in her apartment, still stinging from Margaret Cross's barely veiled insults. She had changed out of her work clothes into comfortable jeans and a sweater. But she couldn't shake the feeling of being evaluated and found. Wanting, her doorbell rang, and Sofia was surprised to find Carlos Martinez, her older brother, standing in the hallway. Carlos was a firefighter, built solid and strong, with the same dark hair and amber eyes as Sofia, but a protective streak that had gotten him into trouble more than once. Carlos, what are you doing here? I was in the neighborhood, he said. Though they both knew he lived across town, thought I'd check on my little sister who's been too busy to return phone calls. Sofia let him in, noting the concerned expression he was trying to hide. I've been working a lot lately, so I've heard. Carlos settled onto her couch, his presence immediately making the small apartment feel even smaller. Maria, at the bodega, says you've been getting flower deliveries? Expensive ones? Sofia poured 2 cups of coffee, buying herself time to think. Her brother had an uncanny ability to read her moods, and she wasn't ready to explain the complicated situation with Ethan. Just work appreciation, she said, sitting across from him. Sofia, I know you think I'm just your overprotective brother, but I hear things. Rich men don't send roses to employees for work appreciation. What have you heard? Carlos studied her face carefully. That you're getting involved with your boss? A very rich, very powerful boss who could hurt you without even thinking about it. Sofia felt tears prick her eyes, thinking about Margaret Cross's dismissive attitude. You think I'm not good enough for him too? What? Carlos leaned forward, his expression fierce. Sofia, you're too good for him. That's what worries me. Men like that don't marry girls like us. They marry society princesses who look good at charity galas. I never said anything about marriage, Sofia protested weakly. You didn't have to. It's written all over your face that you're falling for this guy. Before Sofia could respond, her phone rang. Ethan's name appeared on the screen and Carlos noticed her immediate tension. Answer it, he said quietly. Remember who you are, and don't let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. Sofia answered the call, her voice carefully controlled. Hello, Ethan. Sofia, we need to talk. About what happened today. About my mother's behavior. About everything, there's nothing to discuss. Your mother made her position very clear. My mother doesn't speak for me. Sofia, please, let me explain. Sofia looked at Carlos, who was watching her with concern and love. Her brother was right about one thing. She was falling for Ethan Cross, and that made her vulnerable in ways that terrified her. I'm not sure that's a good idea, she said finally. Then let me ask you something, Ethan said, his voice softer. When James Porter offered you that job, why didn't you take it? Sofia felt her resolve wavering. Because I believe in what we're building here. And when my mother insulted you today, why didn't you defend yourself? Because some battles aren't worth fighting. What if I told you that this battle is worth fighting? What if I told you that what I feel for you is worth fighting for? Sofia closed her eyes, her heart racing. Ethan, I'm outside your building, he said quietly. Please, Sofia, give me a chance to show you that some rules are worth breaking. Sofia looked at Carlos, who nodded slowly.
Oh.
Go, he said. But if he hurts you, I'll make him wish he'd never met the Martinez family. When Sofia opened her apartment, building's front door, she found Ethan standing in the rain without an umbrella, his expensive suit soaked and his usually perfect hair disheveled. He looked nothing like the controlled CEO who commanded boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions. He looked like a man who had finally decided that some things were more important than maintaining perfect composure. "You're going to ruin your suit," Sofia said, though she made no move to go back inside. "I don't care about the suit." Ethan stepped closer, rain dripping from his hair. "Sofia, I need you to know that what my mother said today doesn't represent how I feel, doesn't it? She wasn't wrong about the complications this would create. She was wrong about what matters." Ethan reached up to cup her face gently. "Matter. What we have matters. Everything else is just noise." Sofia felt her walls crumbling as she looked into his eyes. "Your mother will never accept me. The board will question your judgment. People will say, I slept my way to success." "Let them talk," Ethan said fiercely. "I've spent my entire life making decisions based on what other people expected. I'm done with that." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I'm falling in love with you, Sofia Martinez, and I don't care who knows it." The words hung between them. In the rain, more precious than any corporate contract or business deal. Sofia felt her heart overflow with emotions she had been trying to suppress for weeks. "I'm falling in love with you too," she whispered, "but I'm scared." "So am I," Ethan admitted. "I've never felt this way about anyone before, but I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." When he kissed her, Sofia felt like everything finally made sense. All the careful professional distance, all the restrained glances and formal conversations had led to this moment. Standing in the rain, kissing the man who had turned her world upside down, Sofia realized that some rules truly were meant to be broken. 6 months later, Sofia stood in the same conference room where she had first presented her marketing ideas. But now, she wore an engagement ring that caught the light as she gestured toward the projection screen. The campaigns she had developed had revolutionized Cross Industries' market presence. She had been promoted to Chief Marketing Officer. Margaret Cross had eventually come around, grudgingly admitting that Sofia's intelligence and success made her a suitable match for her son. Carlos had walked her down the aisle at their wedding the month before, proud and protective as always. James Porter had tried one last attempt to poach Sofia with an astronomical job offer, but she had turned him down without hesitation. Her place was here, building something meaningful with the man she loved. As Ethan entered the conference room for their morning strategy meeting, Sofia smiled at the sight of him. His blue eyes still held that intensity that had first captivated her, but now they also held warmth and love that was meant only for her. "Good morning, Mrs. Cross," he said, moving to stand beside her at the front of the room. "Good morning, Mr. Cross," she replied, allowing herself a moment to marvel at how perfectly their professional partnership had evolved alongside their personal relationship. The rest of the executive team began filing in for the meeting, but Sofia barely noticed. She had everything she had ever dreamed of, a career she was passionate about, a partnership built on respect and shared vision, and a love that had defied every rule and expectation. Sometimes the best things in life came from breaking the rules that others insisted were unbreakable, and sometimes the assistant really could capture the heart of the untouchable CEO, transforming them both in the process. As Sofia began her presentation about their expansion into international markets, she caught Ethan's eye and saw the pride and love there. They had built something beautiful together, both professionally and personally, proving that when two people were willing to fight for what mattered, there were no obstacles too great to overcome. The story of the CEO and his assistant had become a love story for the ages, written in boardroom victories and quiet moments of connection, sealed with the promise that their greatest adventures were still ahead of them.